If I ask you to close your eyes and vision what labor migrants look like, what would you see? Do you see a bunch of men working in construction sites, or do you see a bunch of domestic workers working within households? For the longest time in my life, I used to vision and understand men as the only labor migrants. Um, According to the International Labour Organization, 73% of approximately 244 million migrants worldwide are workers, and women make almost half of it. Hi everyone, namaste, I'm Puja Thapa, a second-year graduate student pursuing Masters in International Relations at the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. This summer, I received a life-changing opportunity through the Gallatin Global Human Rights Fellowship to return to my home country, Nepal, and immerse myself in human rights for Nepali women migrant workers. Before I dive deeper into my presentation, I just want to appreciate my cohort member, Yasmin, for articulating very difficult thoughts and feelings that a lot of NYU students are scared to express, including myself, because of the institution's incapability to provide a safe space for students like us. Back to my presentation. As a Nepali woman from a low-income family background, labor migration has touched my life in many ways. Either it be through the cousin who escaped gender-based violence by moving continents away, or the friends whose parents took the courage to leave their small kids behind, hoping for a better future, or the neighbor who migrated to be their family's breadwinner. Labor migration has been an inseparable part for countless Nepali, just like me. While labor migration influences Nepali society daily, women migrant workers still fight for the fundamental human right to mobility. Nepal's government's patriarchal and restrictive policies in the name of protecting women have often led women workers to be deprived of their right to mobility and access to information. I'm grateful to the Women's Rehabilitation Center, WOREC Nepal, based in Kathmandu, for providing me with a space to explore gender labor migration with a human rights framework. WOREC, established in 1991, is a movement-based organization with the premise of women's rights and social justice as a prerequisite for peace, social justice, and sustainable development. The organization stood out to me because it was the first in the country to start dialogue with various stakeholders on the concept of safe labor migration and the right of mobility for women. The three major campaigns that the organization is proud of includes violence against women, economic, social, and cultural rights, and human rights and justice. I was involved in ASCR's campaign of Right to Mobility and Decent Work, which focused on empowering local women from marginalized communities to ensure women's right to mobility by making sure that the possibilities of labor exploitation, abuses, and trafficking are reduced. Talking about my fellowship experience specifically, between June and August, I was involved in tasks like grant proposal editing, technical assistance to staff, Nepali to English translation, brainstorming for their brand new Feminist Resource Center, and social media content creation under the same campaign. Further, I embarked on a 3-week journey to eastern Nepal to the districts of Udaipur and Biratnagar, where the largest share of migrant workers come from. I was able to interview and have conversations with over 50 community members, including but not limited to returnee women migrants, returnee migrant workers in general, government officials, community leaders, and community counselors, so that I got to dive deeper into the issue. Based on the fieldwork learning, I worked on a policy brief for work highlighting migrant women as economic change agents. Further, I'm working with them in drafting an internal assessment report for the organization on the labor migration scenario in Nepal. Some of the significant findings of my report discuss how international human rights projects play out in Nepal, the gender reintegration of returnee migrants, the lack of meaningful representation of women in local government, and the association of sex work with immorality, furthering the social stigma against women labor migrants. While I wish I had the time to review all the findings with you, I'm just gonna talk about one specific finding which I'm researching further for my master's thesis as well, which is the unintended consequences of international human rights as framework in labor migration, specifically safe migration as an anti-trafficking solution. While I talk about the consequences, I'm aware that migrant workers worldwide are vulnerable to exploitation and trafficking. Nepali women have a painful history of being lied to, exploited, abused, and forced into unpaid labor and sex work. As a result, from 1985 until today, the government of Nepal has implemented various restrictions like sectoral restrictions, country-specific restrictions, age bans, and total bans for women migrant workers as protective and patriarchal solutions to prevent women from getting trafficked. As we are speaking right now, in Nepal, there is a temporary ban implemented since 2017 on migrant workers to ban them from going for domestic work, which affects mostly, and to be precise, only women in Nepal. The one-sided narrative of being trafficked and portraying all women as victims or possible victims and criminalizing the traffickers solely is harmful, as this assertion constructs gender bodies that characterize women migrant workers as victims, passive, and lacking agency. Such narratives further blind us from understanding the gender aspect of labor migration and the role of government and nation. Restriction in women's mobility, framed as a measure to prevent trafficking, further stigmatizes their migration, confines women with traditional gender roles, and obstructs them from escaping adverse situations like poverty or domestic violence, and forces them to take illegal routes, furthering their vulnerability to risk, abuse, and exploitation. The blanket approach to anti-trafficking by the government of Nepal generalizes and victimizes every Nepali woman, thus overtly simplifying the complex issue of labor migration. As an international relations student interested in learning how transnational movements are gendered, the fellowship experience has strengthened my knowledge and understanding of the nuanced issue of labor migration, which I will apply to my thesis. Further, I've gained confidence in pursuing a career in the field of migration and to advocate for women migrants, especially labor migrants all around the world. I want to thank Gallatin and the fellowship program for this opportunity. I'd also like to thank my independent professor, Professor Ursula Lahotai, and the amazing cohort, all the amazing women, and Tony, who I learned a lot from. And special thanks to Professor Vasuki, Mehmet, and all the Gallatin staff for making this happen, and my friends for supporting me, and everyone else who are here to support all of us today. Thank you so much.